Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we will reassure you that football is fixable. Alright, Dan.
Alright, James.
Yeah, not too bad. We're not with Cess today. How does that feel?
Well, to be fair, I was about to do an alright Cess thing and I forgot.
He's not actually. Well, he will be joining us a bit later. We've got a guest coming on as well.
Oh, thank God.
It's a big boost to Phil.
Dealing with you on my own is difficult. I feel for him. 9 months of it.
So I thought, let's talk about Arsenal, shall we, for the first...
Let's not. I'm under strict instruction to stop you from talking about Arsenal.
Cess has been telling you that we can't talk about... Right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you've already mentioned it and I've failed already, haven't I?
Right. It's been a major week, though, hasn't it? So in terms of... We've had some big news this week.
Yeah, big news.
Concerning you, actually. Sort of. Our connection to Man United. It's been a big week for Man United. Do you want to explain what's been happening?
I'm a source close to Old Trafford.
Yes.
As everyone says in today's... So, no. I hate that phrase. So obviously Ten Hag has been sacked from his position as Manchester United manager.
Yeah, it was kind of expected though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and it does make me feel like a fool for coming on here and pleading his case for...
Okay,
I did.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of chats over the last couple of years, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
About Ten Hag and kind of...
So
he was dismissed in the last week. It's been on the cards in my mind for quite a while. I've been saying to you quite a while, I can't really see what he's doing. We've had long sort of discussions, haven't we?
There's nothing worse than "and I told you so" from James. It is just the most sour pill to swallow.
I did tell you so, though. I did bloody tell you.
Oh, God.
But no, yeah. I mean, what was your case for Ten Hag then? Quickly, let our listeners know what you saw in him.
Even now, I don't massively dislike him, and I still feel like he was insanely over criticised. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff he didn't do right, but the state of the club and how it's been for a long time, Van Gaal failed, Mourinho failed, Solskjaer failed. There's just been a list of failures, and I do think that Ten Hag has progressed the club from when he took it over. You know, there were things he did do right. His decision on Ronaldo was right. His decision on Sancho was right. I don't think anybody can disagree with those.
No, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And he made some terrible signings, but he made some good ones too.
Did he?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Martinez was a very, very good signing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Martinez is a good signing. Okay. He's a very good player.
Okay. So listeners won't know this, hopefully, but we were having a good old chat last night for a good couple of hours on United, analysing different situations. My general point of view is how they're not really coached, so you don't see those patterns of play and stuff like that. And eventually you started to see what I was trying to say. I could see what you're trying to argue as well.
Yeah, after you doused me with a few whiskies.
It helps,
I think there was
that
motivation
helps you to it moulds your mind around to... I bought him a nice bottle of scotch, and that sort of helped him to believe what I'm saying.
I love you, man.
Whatever you say. But with that... Please drink responsibly, by the way. With that, just on balance, as you provided a piece of inside apparent evidence a minute ago, so this particular anonymous person, former coach with a deep understanding of United, said Eric is a coach. Well, we all assumed when he came in, he would coach the players in a certain way, but it's hard to see what that way is. Are United a pressing team? They don't really have the players to press. They play with two defensive midfielders, but then bring the fullbacks inside, which clogs up the midfield. And when the opposition break, neither of the sixes are effective at stopping them. The issues are pretty basic, but they are not being rectified. And when I read that, it's a lot of what I'm seeing from, we talk about the eye test and what we're seeing on the pitch.
Yeah.
There's no doubt there's sort of tactical issues with what we're seeing on the pitch. There's different ideas and they're just not being implemented correctly.
But then this is obviously an observation made from watching the games. This isn't an observation made from watching training or being in training.
Well, we don't know.
He's the evidence he's giving is basing on what you see on the pitch on match day. I agree that what we were seeing from Ten Hag on the pitch on match day wasn't right, and I also probably think that the other side to that argument is if he can't get the players to do what he wants them to do, then that is also a problem.
Yeah, it is,
so,
that's an indictment itself.
I also understand that being an issue. However, I think the players are the reason rather than the manager. I don't think any manager could change that, change the players to implement a style or whatever of playing. They didn't listen to Oli, they didn't listen to Mourinho. There was issues before Mourinho. People wouldn't listen to Van Gaal. When Ralph Rangnick was in, I think he was laughed out of the club because the players thought they knew better. You know, he's gone on to who's the international club he coaches in Austria,
and
he's doing an amazing job there because players actually listen to him. You know, if he can get something out of Austria, you know, but he couldn't get stuff out of a Man United team, like, what does that say?
Well, with that, like, so John Barnes, Premier League legend, right?
Yeah.
Was it Liverpool legend as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's criticised Ten Hag Ten Hag says that, you know, I win trophies, that's a success, I've been successful. John Barnes said, well, football's all about winning trophies, and Ten Hag has been better than Mikel Arteta, but is that statement true? Of course it isn't. Eric Ten Hag hasn't done a better job at Man United than Arteta has at Arsenal, because he hasn't won. He's won the League and FA Cup, the League Cup and FA Cup, that is. But management success is not just by silverware. Liverpool's best season under Jurgen Klopp was when we finished second in the league on 100 points to Man City.
I just disagree with that.
We lost the Champions League to Real Madrid, but then it was our best season in terms of performance.
But then we're to ask a Liverpool fan, right? If you feel like that was their best season, you ask a Liverpool fan that when they won the Premier League, do they not think that was better?
But I suppose as a judge of where the team is. So this is what I think, in my opinion, United have gone backwards under Ten Hag. You think the opposite, don't you?
No, I disagree massively.
You think United are in a better place now?
like for example, like all the things where like, oh, it's their lowest place finish or whatever, right? We finished 8th last season. Yes, positionally it was our lowest place, but we actually ended on a higher point tally. We think we got 60 points last season than in the end of Ollie/Ralph Rangnick's year, which is the year before he took over, which was I think we ended on 58 points.
I think the context John Barnes was talking about, for a club like United, that's not good enough.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is the thing. A club like United, Man United were relegated in the 70s. A club like United,
it's more recency bias in a sense.
100%. It's like you need to, we had that mass success with Alex Ferguson, and that generation is over.
I think
that period is over. We are not.
Don't compare to that team.
Exactly, we're not that powerhouse.
I think that's true.
And also, you can't have it both ways, because people will criticise Man United for harping on about the glory days and stuff like that, but then they are held accountable to that level and that bar of performance. Like, the glory days are still here. It's a very hypocritical
You're using that as the benchmark
statement.
To still compare to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. I think the answer is somewhere between what John Barnes is saying and what you're saying. The league is we've talked about this in the past. It's what we call the acid test. It's the day in, day out, the bread and butter kind of thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And what John Barnes said near the end of his little interview was that it's not about silverware. It's about winning every single week, being a team that consistently challenges. I suppose that's the best way of judging
what's the point
progress.
in trophies then?
Well, of course, trophies are important.
Yeah, so what's the point in them if winning them doesn't mean anything?
So in Arteta's first, when he came in halfway through the year and he took it, we won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But we are clearly a club that's far more progressive. We're ahead. We've evolved since then.
Definitely.
You know, I see a lot of progress since that day. And we haven't won the FA Cup. We've been close. We've been second twice the last couple of seasons and stuff in the league. But I see a team now where it's clearly we're better. We're in a better place as a club. On the pitch, we're much stronger.
But if he never wins a trophy,
no, true. I don't get me wrong.
If he doesn't win a trophy, and the only trophy he won was the FA Cup in his first season, and eventually people get fed up of him and he moves on and goes somewhere else, then you can't class that as a successful period.
Well, you're saying for Ten Hag that he's also set a foundation up and the club's in a better place. That side of things.
Yeah.
That is important. So you're saying that bit as well. So,
but he's also won trophies at the same time.
So exactly. This is where I think it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So Arteta's obviously, he has won that FA Cup, so that's great. But as a team, I think it's also very important that you're showing signs of progress in the league as well. On the pitch, what you're seeing day in, day out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think United on the pitch look worse than they did before Ten Hag took over.
I disagree. You talk about like moments of individual brilliance and stuff. We were always that team. We were moments of individual brilliance from Ronaldo or Pogba or Bruno. Like, we were always that team under Solskjaer as well. I think what Ten Hag tried to do was undo a lot of bad work. So he stripped back a lot of stuff. He got rid of Ronaldo and Sancho and stuff, and stripped back a lot of things. He
brought some young players through.
He didn't just bring young players through, he also worked really closely with the academies, and our academies at the moment are absolutely cooking. They're doing amazingly well. Our under-18s.
They're cooking?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I can figure out what's going wrong then. They need to be training. That's maybe what's holding them back. Talking about the future, Dan, we've got, this week it's been announced Ruben Amorim is going to be the one to...
Yeah.
It's come through today, actually, confirmed at the time of recording.
Yeah.
That he's going to be your coach moving forward. A little bit of background on him for all the listeners. So he's a 2-time Portuguese League winner, 3-time League Cup winner in Portugal. He's a 2-time manager of the season. Sporting Lisbon paid Braga £8.6 million for him in 2020, and he's won 14 Portugal caps as a player as well. You might have seen him around the kind of European competitions for Sporting and stuff, but what's your impressions of that? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, so I've actually, since the news all came out, been watching some of the Sporting Lisbon football and stuff, and the 3-4-3 he plays is really exciting. He seems to get a real tune out of players. There's a lot of players that we've signed which would work very well for him. Like we signed Ugarte in the summer. Ugarte was his player 2 seasons ago before he went to PSG. Obviously Bruno's got the Sporting ties, Dallo as well from Sporting Lisbon. So I think there's a lot of sense there. Also, he did like an internship at Carrington. So Amorim learned under Mourinho in Mourinho's time at Carrington in 2017.
Carrington's the training ground at United.
United's training complex, so he's got those ties to the club. He rejected Liverpool, which of course instantly makes him a fan favourite. So, I'm excited. But I mean, going back to what I was saying before, I don't know if there's a lot of things to be positive about, but because I've seen this all before, like, I'm just a bit sceptical at the moment because
is that the actual problem being solved?
I just think the problems are all still there. I don't think Ten Hag was really the problem.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if we see patterns of play developing, and you mentioned 3-4-3 being his style. It'd be interesting to see if we start seeing a certain style on the pitch.
The thing is, we'll have a new manager bounce, so I don't think you can, because we always have done that. Like Ole Solskjaer went like 7 or 8 games, like wins on the bounce when he first started. He wasn't a good manager, but he was a great success when he first started. Then he was given the job permanently, and it all went downhill, right? Yeah. So we're going to have a new manager bounce, but I don't think it's really wise to then all of a sudden get carried away and get excited after a new manager bounce. It will be in 2 years' time. Are we going to be in this same position again? That's when we can really measure how well he's done.
In other news, the Ballon d'Or's been announced this week. We've got Rodri the winner. Did that surprise you?
I think. Yeah, to be honest, because it never goes to a Premier League player, does it? Or very rarely does it.
The last one was Ronaldo, I think, back in 2008.
But I mean, not because I don't think he deserved it. I do think he was.
I think he's probably. Me and Cesar said this on previous episodes as well. We think he's probably the most important player at Man City.
Yeah.
Without him, I mean, when he plays, they don't lose pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
So if anyone deserves it from the Premier League, it probably is him.
Yeah, I agree. And also, it helps as well, obviously, with when Messi won the Ballon d'Or, when he won the World Cup, Spain winning the Euros.
The Euros would have helped,
and his input into that would definitely have helped his case as well, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
But yeah, I think it's nice to see, because it's not always those players that get recognised, is it?
No, yeah. Sess and I sort of predicted that it wouldn't be him, although we felt it should be. So it's quite it's a.
Did you fix this?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We're going to maybe fix the Ballon d'Or in a future episode, I think. But so Sess and I thought that Rodri should be recognised for what he's done, so he should win a Ballon d'Or. But I'm not a huge fan of Ballon d'Ors anyway. It's a team sport, so I think we need to fix a Ballon d'Or at some point anyway. It did surprise, or it annoyed, shall I say, Real Madrid, because I mean they normally win these things, and you know what they did? They boycotted the ceremony.
Yeah, I saw this. This is absolutely ridiculous. They were like just crying at home, weren't they? They were like, "No, we're not going because
Vinicius Junior they felt should win it." And he's come out and said, Vinicius Junior, he said, "I'll do it 10 times if I have to. They're not ready."
That's just ridiculous.
It sounds like a petulant child, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah.
Kick
and scream.
Yeah, and the whole United squad, and cause, I mean, they had a number of players in the team of the year. I think Carlo Ancelotti won the manager of the year, or whatever, European manager, or whatever it was. Yeah, they weren't there to pick up their awards because the whole team boycotted the event. I mean,
I just think it's ridiculous.
On top of that, some great PR from Northampton Town,
Okay.
So they put a comment out after the Ballon d'Or, was being announced and everything. We can confirm that we will not be attending the Ballon d'Or this evening after it emerged that Tariq Fosu won't win the award. Which I love that as a reaction from
I do like that.
That's
that
brilliant.
Is good.
We've got Tony Kroos said, obviously former Real Madrid legend, recently retired, Rodri will win. I have never seen the importance of these individual awards in football. They have no place, which does link onto a point that I want to get onto, and we'll do this in a future episode, where I feel, football's a team sport. It's not about the individual.
Yeah.
So whether you agree with me, whether you don't, we'll have to have an episode on that.
I'll keep my opinion to myself for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tension
we
in the room.
We can find out later. In other fresh news, a lager was recently released for a special event in the League Cup.
Oh, I know what you're going to bring up. So it's been League Cup this week.
So there's a new lager released called the Invincibles by Preston North End.
Yeah, so Arsenal are playing away at Preston North End in the League Cup, and they had a special kind of commemorative lager they were bringing out called the Invincibles lager, and it had Preston and Arsenal logos on it.
Because Preston were the original Invincibles.
They were.
So Arsenal were just the poor sequel. So in the best news story of the week.
Oh, this has cheered you. This has certainly cheered you up. He's happy now. So yeah, I think Preston North End went invincible. I think it was the inaugural professional football league season back in 1888-89 or something like that. And I remember I knew about this. I just didn't realise you didn't know.
No, I didn't.
But it was they played smaller seasons, and I think they played a 22-game season or something.
So they
like
were the first Invincibles.
They were.
So,
yeah.
Yes, and also proving that people forget that football existed before the Premier League.
Oh, yeah. Well, it didn't, did it? But yeah, so it's the first time in over 100 years that anyone's gone invincible, and it was now where football is, there's a lot more money in
professionalism. First time in over 100 years. It was the second time it's been done.
Right, I think it's time to move on.
Excellent.
Let's get into the main episode. Well, hello. Today we've been blessed because we've got someone who actually looks quite similar to Jesus. Actually,
yeah, that's what you've always called me.
Hello, you're right, Sess. We've already said hello today, but hello again. I was actually talking about Paul. Hi, Paul.
Holy Father, grant us peace.
Hello, how you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much for inviting me down.
Another one of our
we
big
are
fans.
Blessed. Yeah,
we are blessed. We've got another fan.
yeah. Actually, this is a guest who listens to our stuff.
Yeah, he was actually quoting things that we'd been talking about, and he, for some reason, likes Coops. I don't know why.
Yeah, we've done a lot to try and put people off of Coops, and yet
people seem to love him. I don't know what it is.
I think
Old man
that's the
Coops.
appeal. I think the appeal is that he's just his own man.
He really is. Yeah, you can't find another guy like him.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what he had to say. What can I say?
Wow.
Chelsea fan as well. So.
That's true. Yeah, and there's very few guests that come onto our podcast and fall asleep during the recording,
and can get away with it as well. I don't know how we let him live after that. To be honest.
Yeah.
So Paul is a musician.
Trying.
Yeah.
A musician trying.
A question that Dan was just asking Paul before the episode was, is music in your bones? So should I put that question to you now? Is music in your bones, Paul?
Yeah, and what bones?
Yeah, and what bones? Well,
it's not all the bones.
No, it can't be all the bones. Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, if I was to be any bone, musical bone, maybe I would have to be the funny bone, maybe.
Yeah. Wow. Is the funny bone actually a bone, or is it more like a
bone?
Yeah. Is the funny bone? It's I don't know, like a nerve or something, isn't it? It's not actually a bone.
Yes, I think that's a fair point.
Top educational stuff
on
the Footballers
are always quite
All Right
useful.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the funny bone is also musical and isn't even a bone. Like
exactly.
Wow. So it's an actor. So it's like a multi-talented entertainer,
comedian, an artist,
actor, and musician all in one.
Well, trying. I'm a trying musician.
Yeah. How did you get started? Because you said it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So really, a good friend of mine that I've known for a long time. He was the inspiration. Really, he kind of he's been working a lot in Sydney. He's been doing a lot of producing and recording and releasing his own EPs for a while. And he had a conversation with me, had a demo that he didn't know what to do with. He said, "Hey, I'll throw it your way. I know you're looking to get back into the music side of things." And from there, he said, "Actually, I think we need to work together." So that was kind of an encouraging moment.
Wow.
And it was after that, so it kind of happened. So it was a bit of fate, really.
Yeah. Is he from Sydney?
No, so he's actually from just outside West London, but he moved there about 10 years ago, and he hasn't looked back. So
Oh, right. Okay.
yeah. But he was the important part, really, of the puzzle, really, just to get going. So
Yeah.
grateful to him for that. So otherwise, who knows? It might have been a pipe dream and then never happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your band then. So what are you called?
So we're Fleeting Moon, and we're available on all streaming services. We've got 5 songs out essentially at the moment, but we're releasing another single or 2 and alongside an EP early next year.
Wow.
So we're kind of trying to build the catalogue, really. But yeah, essentially we're just looking at streaming right now. So we're trying to build the numbers up. I think we had about 8,000 streams on the first EP.
Wow.
So that was really encouraging.
That's a good thing, right? That's
Yeah.
I don't know about the numbers.
Cess is always one for context. You need to know, is that a good number?
It's decent. Yeah,
It's decent.
But
That
I mean,
sounds good.
it's nothing major. It's nothing major.
So would it be somewhere between?
It's good.
What
It's
with
good
Bob
for
Dylan?
it's good for like an independent band like opening EP thing. That's
Okay.
a success, I would say.
yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
that was good.
I mean, to us, this sounds amazing because we can only dream of having 8,000 listeners.
8,000. Yeah, we're almost there with our episodes.
Yeah.
At the moment, but
Just another 7,980 people.
You guys are traveling continents, right? So
Yeah, multiple.
We are global.
Four
Yeah,
continents.
where's your? Do you know where your where most of your fans are? Like, are they mostly outside
It's mostly
of the UK?
Yeah,
It's mostly
it's
UK,
mostly UK. We've had a lot of American listeners. However, I can only assume that they thought they were listening to an American football.
they see the word
podcast.
football and they think it could be American football.
Yeah, because they're a bit silly in that way, aren't they? We've tried to fix the American side of football.
Just to, once again, Cess's views on Americans does not necessarily represent the views of the whole podcast. I love you personally, Americans. I love America.
Do you?
Cess, I do. You know I do.
I love New York. You've been
I
there
do love
twice.
New York.
Yeah.
That's the only place I've been so far. So yeah, Paul's band is that's Fleeting Moon. Do go and check them out. We'll put the links on our YouTube pages underneath the video once we upload it all. So do check that out. Otherwise, you can find Fleeting Moon on
Yeah,
all
so
the channels,
on Apple Music, on YouTube Music, all the main streaming services. If you can, give us a follow. We desperately need more people on Instagram. So
there we go. Fleeting Moon. Thanks,
Well,
Paul.
I mean, you may have quite a few listeners, but now you're on a global podcast. Get ready, my friend.
yes, here we
Prepare
go. That's what we
yourself.
need. That's what we need.
You've never had up to 17 people listen to you in the past, have you? Yeah.
No, believe me, we need it. every person counts. We appreciate any listen. So thank you, whoever you are out there, giving us 5 minutes of your time on Spotify or whatever it may be.
However, this is a football podcast, Paul. So what got you into football then? You also like football, right?
Oh yeah, so my brother was a captain of 11-a-side team in London, and he used
Chelsea.
to. Oh yeah, wish it was
John Terry?
No, it wasn't quite John Terry either. A few years before John Terry, but he used to just play every Saturday, 3:00 kickoff. Used to take me down because I think my parents probably needed a break. So I'd be down watch him. And he just used to inspire me, really. Just watching him, I used to think I need to probably take this a bit more seriously at school or whatnot, because I wasn't great when I was that young, but then I kind of came into it when I was probably in my teen years, and then from then on, just wanted to keep playing constantly, like most teenagers do at that age. Just love the game and fell in love with it from that point on.
And you decided to support Chelsea.
Yes, his team was Chelsea and is my team.
So you
So
were
his-
you were tricked into it, really. It wasn't, you didn't start following them because of their nasty history and players and stuff. You were tricked into it by family at a young age.
Yeah, it's all I know, and I don't remember this either, was I have a picture of me at 5 years old, and my brothers got me to wear a Chelsea kit. And I'm crying in the picture, so I'm not sure what our circumstances were.
I think I've heard that's quite a common
Yeah,
effect.
yeah, that can happen. Absolutely. Have you considered not supporting Chelsea?
I-
That is a possibility. It's. I'm sure there are
It's
ways
never
we can
too
fix
late.
this.
It's never too late.
Never too late. Yeah.
I honestly, hand on heart, I fell in love with going to the games, and my brother always took me. And once you're a supporter, you're always a supporter. I've always followed them, and I can't even
You still
imagine
cry when you
supporting
put on a
anyone
Chelsea
else.
shirt.
It's actually been better since then, but
Has it?
because when I particularly remember the FA Cup run in '97. That's like because
Okay.
I really got into football properly after Euro '96. Massively, and the heartbreak I felt that night when Gareth Southgate unfortunately obviously missed that
the
penalty.
Yeah.
Was the kind of moment I just felt so inclined to just follow football all
Yeah.
the time. And
Was
then
it-
it was that following season when we had Zola,
Yeah.
Vialli,
What a
Di
player Zola was.
Matteo.
Yeah.
Everyone came in, and Hullet then took over from Hoddle
Yeah.
as manager.
That's actually
that was
all
a great
right. I
time.
feel better now. So that's pre-Abramovich era.
Yeah.
Any Chelsea fans pre-Abramovich era, I'm all right with.
we accept those. don't we?
yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel about the sort of performances so far this season then? So you recently played Liverpool, and I thought it was quite a close game. And
I
Liverpool
thought
top
we
of the
played
league
well
at the
in that
moment.
game. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
we played well in that game. To be fair, I thought we created some really good chances. To be fair, our finishing could have been a bit better. Liverpool defended well when they needed to. They were superb actually at defending. To be fair, but just when we worked really hard, got back into the game, scored the equaliser. A minute or two later, Liverpool, poor defending again.
Yeah.
3 players coming back as one comes out, and then he's got an open, just got to put it past the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper, if I'm being really particular about
Sanchez.
the situation, he should have done probably a bit more. He just kind of flaps his arms in the air, and then it just rolls past him. I mean,
Yeah.
he could have put more into blocking that, but again, that's the goalkeeper always going to get the hard.
He makes a few
Yeah.
howlers, Sanchez. Though,
He does.
doesn't
I kind of feel as though he's a typical Chelsea player for what's the Bowley. He's very much a Bowley era player, because the Bowley era seems to be very much who's a big name and we'll go get him. So it doesn't matter how well they've been playing for how long. Enzo Fernandez had one good tournament in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Let's go get him.
Yeah.
And he ended up not being a 100 million player. Caicedo, he played well for one season. Let's go get him.
Arsenal wanted him, so
Arsenal wanted
that
him,
was
yeah,
what
yeah.
it was. Right? Oh, we'll get him quick.
Yeah. Lavia, he only really played one season.
And Liverpool wanted him.
Liverpool wanted him.
I must say those two. They look brilliant. Actually, I thought they were brilliant players.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
they
proven in the
definitely-
league, like you say. The
Yeah.
Mudryk one is very interesting because
That's a bizarre one.
that one is. Yeah, I can't. For the price tag, particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's no doubt he's a talent, and you think in the future he could start fulfilling some of that. But it's a lot of money for someone unproven, isn't it? At that
And I think
age.
it's kind of gone to his head, kind of like with Anthony. If you come with a certain price tag, then you're kind of being told you are this good, and especially with Anthony,
and you're
he
compared to
wasn't.
those levels, aren't you?
Yeah,
And the money that he's going to be on per week, his price tag, with that as well, there's so much. There must be so much responsibility and so much
yeah,
sort of
real
like
expectation.
focus.
Yeah.
Expectation.
Yeah, expectation from the fans.
He's so young
and
as well,
if he's
isn't
not
he?
providing,
Yeah, he's only
Yeah.
How
what,
old is he?
23?
Like, yeah,
yeah, he's very young. I think he is 22 or 23.
Yeah,
But he's clearly very talented. His pace is incredible.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think just the other night he was playing in the Europa Conference League.
Why are you laughing?
yeah.
Sorry.
The Europa Conference League. He within a moment, the guy was well ahead of him and just raced past him to get the ball, put a tackle in. So he's definitely not lacking on that side of things. But
no,
I think there's a lot of players in that squad. I mean, I actually had a look at the squad recently. There was 44 players.
Whoa.
Yeah, to be fair, watching them at the moment is pretty good on the whole. I've got to be honest.
They're one of the fun teams to watch.
Yeah. It definitely is entertaining.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer is my guilty pleasure.
Can we put that into the folder?
Yeah, I'll clip that. Yeah,
we'll clip that one. Yeah.
He's been a revelation, really, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, last season
he's
when
so
things were not.
Yeah.
Because he's a Chelsea fan, it's so difficult to accept how good he is. To watch.
He was compared. Just saying.
You watch him, you're like, oh god, you're so good. And, oh damn it, you're a Chelsea.
Dan. Okay, you're right. Enough of that.
Paul, we asked you before if you had anything that needed to be fixed in football.
If there's one thing you could fix in football, what would it be?
This is tricky.
As we know, football is broken, hence why we're here. So where would you address, if you could have almighty power, music, what would you fix?
To be honest, I have bugbears like in the actual game itself, and then I have things which I feel need to be fixed in the game.
Okay.
So I'd say I think there needs to be possibly fan ownership at clubs. I think there needs to be more possibility for that. I think that would be a really positive thing. Things for the fans to have more of a say in how things take place, dictated at the club. I think we see good examples of it in Germany.
I was about to say, the German league is like that, isn't it? I think they've got a minority. They haven't got a majority chairs, but
they have a say, so their ideas are... I know clubs in this country are kind of invited to meetings and stuff, but they don't officially have a say, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think old man Coops has suggested... because he talked about clubs becoming more charities because they serve the communities and things like that. So it's a similar line of thought, really. So it's less about the profits and money driven. It's more about how these clubs represent the communities and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important just to kind of allow people to feel that they're a part of the club and they have
a say,
a voice, in the club.
The news at the moment this week has been around the government regulator coming in to sort of regulate the Premier League. I know it's not completely in line with what you're saying there, but would that be a push in that direction, do you think? Maybe the regulator put some more pressures to make the clubs represent their communities more, and is that a good thing, do you think, having a regulator in the game?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good thing because we see good examples of people coming in who haven't got any real links to the club. They want to kind of it's a bit of a play toy, really.
Yeah.
Where actually they have a lot of the money. They don't have any of the understanding of the local areas of the community, but they think, I really want to invest in this because we could make this exciting. We can sell this as a brand. Maybe there's a little bit of that, I think, involved.
There's a bit of sports washing as well. It's been kind of thrown out there, isn't it, for a few clubs?
Yeah.
Maybe City.
Do you think it's a bit of government wanting to have a slice of the pie?
Yeah, it probably does feel like that. The problem, I suppose, with fan ownership, I like it. However, it can only be to a certain limit. There's a limitation because once a club gets to a certain size or like a global reach, then it effectively is out of the hands of any of the fans. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you get ownership from America or the Saudis, for example, they're very much franchise people. Even the fans, say in America and stuff, don't really care about the community feel of the clubs or anything like that. They just want it to be bigger, better. They want a bigger outreach. They want
money driven,
a show.
isn't it?
It's completely money driven.
Yeah.
So we've seen that in the Premier League. Most of the teams are now American or Middle Eastern led. And they've slowly become this global club, so they're playing friendlies abroad a lot more. And however much you want fans to be involved, the fans being involved are actually a tiny minority. We've said this before, like with Arsenal, for example. The number of Arsenal fans in and around the traditional Arsenal area,
Islington,
it's a fraction. It's a drop in the ocean of the Arsenal fans around the world.
Yeah.
So who is it helping?
It's an interesting argument because I feel like fans who maybe wanted to put money into their clubs and have some sort of proportional stake within a club, that ship may well have sailed in terms of now the money involved at these clubs. Is it financially even viable for them to have any stake whatsoever in the club, because it's worth, the clubs are worth so much money, and the investment they would have to put forward is just not viable for a lot of them now.
Paying a tenner for a share 50 years ago compared to probably 1,000 for a share,
So you're looking at smaller clubs now. It's probably only realistic for those clubs probably in maybe from League 1, League 2.
And it's not really in the interests of the government, if we mention that, but also football in this country to diminish the power of the Premier League in a sense, because it's that global brand. It generates so much money for the economy and things like that. So why would you want to suddenly make these clubs have limitations on them? So it's kind of the greater good of football isn't really in the thinking, because it's profit driven. One thing I will say,
it's a brand, isn't it?
It's a brand, One thing it might just be for show. That's for others to maybe debate and discuss. But I know a lot of clubs. I know Arsenal. I know I get updates on fan meetings and things like that. And I'm sure other top, the big clubs do this as well, where they get the fans from the local community groups and things in, and they have meetings every so many months. So they feed into what the decision making is and that sort of thing. That came out actually after the Super League debacle thing to try and involve fans more. So I know Arsenal are doing that, and I'm sure other top clubs are doing that as well. But whether that's actually having a say on the direction, I mean, that's open to interpretation, I suppose. Maybe it's just a PR thing, I don't know.
I think it does help for definitely the smaller teams, but if you have teams like Man United, for example, Dan knows this.
I was just about
I mean, it kind of went out of the reach of the actual Manchester fans a long time ago. And it's now however much Dan or even the Manchester fans that knew Matt Busby.
So Matt Busby,
they won't be within reach of United now, because it's gone so global and just far surpassed local.
There is like a fan forum, but like I personally think like it's more of a PR thing than anything else. Little things like there was huge noise about this whole new stadium, so they're planning on building a new stadium, getting rid of Old Trafford, doing a whole new stadium, and all the fans were like, no, you can't get rid of Old Trafford, and then the fan forum happens, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, new stadium's a great idea, It's very much PR, isn't it?
It is. And also, if it's Old Trafford will be for the traditionalists. And actually now the number of Man United fans around the world
outnumber the traditionalists.
Far outnumber traditionalists.
That's so true.
All the American fans of Man United, why would they go, no, you need to keep Old Trafford? They'll go, you imagine having a new stadium, that'd be brilliant. Look at all the benefits, the money coming in.
Yeah, well, that's it. And new stadiums bring new things. Obviously, again, my club's done the same thing. I get sent every season a questionnaire, it might be a couple of times a season, whether I feel my club, Arsenal, because I'm a member, whether we appeal to the communities, what we do for the local areas and things like that, because we have lots of charities and stuff like that. So I'm sure United would do the same thing. But one thing about Man United is they're owned by shareholders. I think they're on the New York Stock Exchange, aren't they? So when you've got shareholders there, that's probably priority to the board, isn't it? In that sense, to keep the shareholders happy.
This is another Glazer thing, though, isn't it? Like everything they've done has just destroyed the club, hasn't it? So putting it on the stock market, I mean, we're still massively in like debt, which is a debt that was taken out in order to pay to buy our club, and then instead of them paying the debt themselves, they're using the club to service that debt. So they've literally not put a single penny of their own money into the club. And
I saw something recently about
it's mad.
United debt. It's something like they pay more interest in debt than the other 19 teams in the Prem put together, or something. It was just something ridiculous.
And it was a debt laid on the club by the Glazers to buy the club. So but the
How
moment
are they
were
allowed
bought,
to do that?
Financed by debt,
It's mental, isn't
this
it?
was it's crazy. It was. I think there's been rules put in place since that's happened to stop it from happening again. But if it wasn't,
why were there not rules put in place? That's basically like trying to buy a
You're allowed
Lamborghini.
to buy things using debt. Loads of clubs have financed their projects and things like that via debt. That's how.
Yeah,
it works.
that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense if I go into a dealership and I go, I want to buy this Lamborghini. I haven't got the money. However, I'll put this Lamborghini against it.
In the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
as collateral for
Yeah.
the Lamborghini.
Yeah, and then I'll drive off with it.
So Dan sort of saying I always bring it back to Arsenal. You saying I always bring it back to Arsenal. I love how we've just gone off on a tangent talking about Man United when Paul was talking about.
Yeah, I would like to.
Paul's here, by the way.
Point out, I did not once bring up the conversation. I very much put in my 2 cents once it was brought up.
That is true. Yeah, we'll blame
You are
James.
very-
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's usually James. We'll just be sat here, just talking about nothing, and then suddenly we go, "Oh yeah, and Arsenal. Have you seen this?"
Do you remember that time Arsenal did this?
Yeah.
Dennis Bergkamp's in the Armoury
Oh,
tomorrow in the
Bergkamp.
shop signing. We've got these special banknotes with Bergkamp's face on it, and he's down there 3 till 5 on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer should take a visit.
No, you can meet him. It's it's you.
You can meet
The
him.
new
then.
Bergkamp,
You can actually
yeah.
see him.
New and improved.
Tag him in a post, maybe. Just giving him the heads up.
Yeah.
I shook Bergkamp's hand. I'll put that out there as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Starting to sound like a bit of a creep, actually. I touched him.
I touched him. I made contact. What do you think about Nicholas Jackson, Paul?
Yeah,
at
Nicholas
Chelsea? How do you feel
Jackson.
he's doing?
Well, his stats looking pretty good this season.
He's
he's
done better
definitely-
this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done pretty well this season. I mean,
He did fantastically on the bench in my fantasy football team. He scored.
On the bench.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think fans are warming to him big time. I think at the moment because he works. He is a workhorse.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
up and down.
That
all
goes a
the
long
time.
way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How hard you work, even if you don't score necessarily. But
Yeah.
I think fans see you working your socks off.
Yeah.
That
A bit
really
like Darwin Nunez in Liverpool.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they both of them in their first season they had absolute howlers. They would
Statistically.
miss from the. Well, no, I mean they'd miss
Yeah.
from like the 6-yard box and
Oh, I
they'd
see,
miss
yeah,
open
yeah.
goals and everything.
Mhm.
But they both work so hard, and you can't hate them for it. You kind of think, yeah, you've got to give him a chance. And I think he's doing a lot better this time round.
Well, did you know in his first 50 games, he's scored 21 goals and has 8 assists for Chelsea?
That's a good
Compared to
return,
Didier, yeah, not bad. Compared to Didier Drogba in his first 50 games, the same number of goals, 21. Drogba had 12 assists. So actually, he's not a million miles away from what many say is a Chelsea legend. Would you agree with that?
I mean,
Oh, I mean,
statistically.
Yeah, I mean,
drog.
statistically, he's on the right path. Obviously, I
Yeah.
mean, his finish against Liverpool was brilliant. Actually, superb finish, and he didn't have many chances,
yeah.
good chances in that game. So he took it really well.
Actually, we're speaking about maybe he's not getting the appreciation he deserves, Nicholas Jackson, this season. We've got a new feature, Sess, haven't we?
We do.
We've got a new feature called More Than Alright, which is the love child of Sess and Dan. Been speaking during the week. Coming up with a new segment for the show
Yeah.
where
We've been
different
getting
topics
close.
each week.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us, Dan?
So this is basically came off of the back of talking about other features on other shows where they're talking about the greatest of all time and these players of the history of the game and stuff. And actually, we thought it would be quite interesting to have some more underrated players because there's some real high quality players in the game that don't get the plaudits they deserve. So this section is especially for them because they're more than all right.
So for today, our topic is underrated players. Don't get the recognition, so let's get into it.
I've got an underrated player.
All right, you start us off then, Sess.
Yeah. And this might sound biased because he's an Everton player, but
Ugh.
I think it's fair to say that most Everton players are more underrated than they are overrated. there aren't that many Everton
Or
players.
maybe
that
they're
are
just
overrated.
rated as they should be.
Possibly.
To be
yeah.
fair, you could probably put your club in the entire
Yeah,
the
the
entire club
underrated.
could go into the
Yeah.
bracket, couldn't it?
That is true. So the player I've brought
With you? Have you?
Yeah,
Are they
and
here?
here he is Leighton Baines. I think he was actually quite highly rated at points. But the thing is, the reason why I say that he's underrated, and I've mentioned this to you a few times before, James, I think there was a period of time of a few years when actually he was the best left back for England. And I know it was the Ashley Cole era. However, it was towards the end of Ashley Cole's reign, and he wasn't doing any wrong. So I don't think Cole deserved to lose his place in England, for example. However, that was at Baines's peak, and actually, I think England would have had more from Baines than from Cole. Again, not saying that Cole did anything wrong. However, Baines at that time, you remember his deliveries?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
His free kicks.
His free kicks,
Yeah, his free kicks. His free kicks were mad.
Especially in a time, we've said this before, corners, the deliveries in corners have become, they're so bad, they can barely beat the first player.
So often, isn't it? It gets cleared by the first man.
Whereas Baines, he was brilliant. And not only that, he's a left back who's actually a good defender. You know, we're missing nowadays. Fullbacks just can't defend. He could defend. He was brilliant at deliveries. He could score. One of the best free kicks, probably the best free kick I've seen, was by Leighton Baines against Newcastle. I think it was 2014, where it was about, I think they said it was about 40 yards out, and he took a shot from 40 yards out. The ball never went above head height, and it's just rocketed into the top corner. Didn't even win goal of the month.
I remember that one. That goal, yeah.
It was incredible.
Great goal.
Yeah, and I think he was very much underrated because it just happened to be that he was playing in an era where we had probably the greatest, definitely the greatest English left back of all time.
And probably
one
in
of
the
the
Premier
great
League era, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I would say
good shout.
Leighton Baines.
I have to be tagged in this show, I think. You'll probably appreciate it.
Yeah, you probably do, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Who's yours, James?
As you were saying, I was sort of thinking.
Bergkamp.
I was thinking about Dennis Bergkamp because I think he doesn't get the credit.
He is definitely rated. Yes.
But he is. He does have a statue outside the Emirates, so maybe
nonsense.
Plus, you talk about him all day, every day. So
I rate him.
Pretty much overrated him anyway.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
In which
maybe
case,
to the levels that you rate him, you might feel like he's underrated, but he is very much rated.
Yeah, people aren't talking about Dennis enough.
Well, they don't. It's the best player I've ever seen. But I'm going to go Santi Cazorla is an Arsenal player.
Oh, that's a good shout.
I know that you can't
can
go against me on that, Cess, because I know you love him as well.
I do.
And every player that played with him say that he was the best player they played, that they've ever played with. Ramsey was recently on Sky and he said that as well.
Yeah, it's like the Moussa Dembele thing at Tottenham, isn't it? Where everyone that plays with them somehow they just come out later on and say, oh, he was the best player ever.
Yeah, I think it was unfortunate. He was at Arsenal during a time that wasn't that successful. We won a few FA, actually with him in it. He helped to lead us to a couple of FA Cup victories, actually getting us back our first trophy in like 9 years.
Yeah.
But the way he was so entertaining on the pitch, he was so technically gifted. He was both-footed. There's famous clips of him on. You can go and watch this on YouTube and things, where he was about to take a corner with his right foot, but then the guys in the box said, "No, need it the other." Right, okay, and he just switches over walks around the flag and takes it with his left.
Yeah,
and he's just amazing.
Yeah, and he does the move that we call the Santi.
Yeah, we've copyrighted that as the Santi.
It's the move where you pass it from your right to left or left to right.
Or left to right, really very quickly. You sort of bounce the ball in between your legs.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a player, actually.
Yeah. And just for entertainment value, technical class, and he scored a goal in the FA Cup final to get us back into it, and we ended up winning it. So I'm going to go for the first episode of our new feature. I'm putting Santi Cazorla in there.
Nice. I like it. All right.
I like it. That's a good
What about you, Dan?
Right. Okay, so I'm between 3 players. So
that's not one player, is it?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of the one to go for. Okay, I'm going to go with this player because I saw a lot more of him live.
Oh, you have to say him out loud, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michael Carrick.
Oh, Michael Carrick.
That's a good shout.
Never got a call up to England. The game he played, the way he read the game, he was a step ahead of everyone. He had such a good
never got a call up for England.
Well, I think he got a few caps, but he was never really in selection. He never really got into. I don't think he went to many main tournaments. I don't think he went to any, in fact.
And for someone who didn't play for England, those 34 appearances he made, I mean, that's impressive.
Oh, okay, fair enough. No, but like he was not like the first name on the team sheet, was he? He wasn't in the frame. I don't think he 34 appearances would have been substitute appearances or something. Like he barely played for England at all.
Well, a few moments ago, you thought he never got a cap, so maybe we shouldn't be listening.
Then it was
to you
possibly 1 or 2. Now it's 34.
Okay, fair enough. I had not done my research before making such a statement.
Well, we'll set you up then, Paul. You can't get any worse than that. So, do you have your as our guest? Who would be your choice for the most underrated player you've seen in football?
It's very difficult because the kind of players who were playing for Chelsea when went on to win the Champions League and prior years to that, there were some great players in that squad. You know, we don't talk about so much anymore. I mean, not that he's necessarily underrated at all, because he's an incredible player and he was unbelievable in the Premier League, but someone who was magnificent for us was Juan Mata. And he went on to obviously go to Manchester United.
Loved him at United.
But for us, he was incredible.
He was your player of the season once or twice, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, that's true. If anything, he is underrated because...
You think of that team who won the Champions League.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily think of Juan Mata, but he was a significant part of that squad. But he doesn't... If you think about those players like the Lampards, the Drogbas, Peter Cechs, you don't usually hear his name alongside some of those.
Yeah.
But maybe was it because of the transfer? Who knows? I don't know. But he was such a significant part of our squad and many occasions scored great goals for us.
Top player.
Yeah.
And true. Also never played for England.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. He probably played as few times as Michael Carrick.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, we'll have to double check.
Yeah. Get the stats.
Could have done with him, to make a few appearances. I
mean, I suppose he actually, for Spain, he probably didn't play too much because he would have played in the era of David Silva, Iniesta, Xavi,
Fabregas. That's our new feature. More than all right. I think it's time for some fantasy football tips and knowledge, Seth, don't you think? Some insider tips.
It's a good idea. It's necessary for you, especially.
Yeah, it is. Says you mentioned it earlier. Who did you have on your bench who did really well? Jackson.
Why would I put Nicholas Jackson in my team when they were playing Liverpool?
And then he goes and scores.
I did the right thing.
Oh, did you?
He did the wrong thing by scoring.
Oh, right.
So the guy that thought Carrick never played for England is beating both of you at fantasy football. Is that right?
Wow. Yeah, that's true. That's embarrassing.
I just needed a moment of redemption.
Anyway, so did you hear? So the last round of Champions League games before the international break on CBS, this went viral. So it was Leverkusen against Brest, I think it was, the French side. Yeah. They asked Thierry Henry, what do you think of the game? And he said, it's a big one.
Of course.
And then that was taken as, hang on. And then Henry hung his head in shame because, what have I said, sort of thing. Then they go to Micah, who's the giggling away and stuff. They said, what do you think, Micah? And he says, it's a bit lopsided, isn't it? And that became sort of a viral, hilarious and everything. I just think the level of smart, we'd never lower ourselves to that level, would we?
No, never. No. Not at all.
Anyway, it's time for John's Juicy Tips. Juicy. Juicy. John's Juicy Tips.
Yeah.
Alright, today's tips are as juicy as Eric Ten Hag's bank balance after getting sacked this week. A £15 million payoff for failure. If I ever get sacked from this podcast, I hope for the same treatment. That wouldn't happen though, because these tips never fail. And here they are for game week 11. In defence, it's Diogo Dalot for United. The next 3 fixtures look very kind. And more long term, he's likely to be pushed further forward in Amorim's 3-4-3 system, which should lead to more attacking returns. Midfield, it's a player whose football skills were honed at some of the finest football clubs, Bristol City and Bath City. It's Antoine Semenyo for Bournemouth. He's had the most goal attempts of any midfielder in FPL. And his next 5 fixtures are all against leaky defences. Up front, it's the sharp-shooting Swede, Alexander Isak. After a tricky start to the season, he seems to have finally found some form and fitness. And we know from last season's 21 goals in the Prem, but if you feed him his Swedish meatballs, he will always finish it off. Juicy.
Thanks for that, John, as always. Sam, it's getting boring now, Sam. You're still top, so congratulations. Slotty too hotty.
Well done, Sam.
Yeah. So 77 points in the last game week 9. 608 points now he's on, so that's not bad at all. The People's Front of Judea, we've already done that joke, so it's best we don't do it again.
Nope.
The Judean People's Front, so on. But they're second place. John is still in third before we go into game week 10. So, John,
we're going to need a new name for John's Juicy Tips. I think we might.
They're not as juicy.
No, they're not.
Right, I think it's time to draw it to a close. We've kind of fixed a lot of aspects of football there, Seth.
I think so. We've also introduced a new segment.
Yeah, pleased with that. That seemed to go down well.
Yeah. And we've got a guest who actually enjoys our podcast. So
that's true.
Yeah.
We should promote him to be a co-host instead of Dan.
That's a good point.
I think you chose the wrong guy, guys.
Yeah. All of the fans of Fleeting Moon can now come to us, just as much as our very few fans can listen to you guys.
Stop that. So there we go. Thanks for listening, everyone. Do, as we said earlier, please do go and check out Fleeting Moon, Paul's band. They are amazing. We're going to get you to sponsor us. No, we'll sponsor you.
That's true, yeah.
So yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Do please like, subscribe and follow and all that jazz. And yeah, it's goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me too.
And me.